So the missionaries emphasized education for backward communities. They also emphasized English education. They made provisions for women to be taught. A major advancement in the social, cultural and religious areas. It advanced in all three areas because of education. So, the religious part irritated the Orthodox people. But they conducted Bible classes, and many Orthodox priests came, and other people came. They listened to them. This was new for them because they were worshipping in the Syrian language, which the people didn't know what they were saying. They were just saying things that without knowing, like the Muslims are praying Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah, they didn't know that. Even the person praying, you ask him, what are you saying? He says, I don't know. It's enough for Allah to know it. That sort of. So people were not knowing, but in English and Malayalam, the missionaries were taking classes and teaching them from the Bible. These things are not in the Bible. The Bible prohibits you to worship any idols. So even a cross cannot be used. They were against it. So Abraham Malpan. Malpan means a teaching priest, The title Malpan means he trains other priests, other people. So Abraham Malpan, a teaching priest in the Orthodox Church, came under the influence of the missionaries. He also began to teach against Mary worship. He learned it from the missionaries. So he taught against Mary worship, against other mediators than Jesus Christ. He, taught against prayer to the dead people, Chatham, and so many things. At present, when he started those ministries, of course, a lot of people, he was a Malpan, a leading priest in the Orthodox church. Therefore, there were people who were listening to him. And he, for the first time, conducted a worship meeting, or what they call Kurbana in the Malayalam language, in his church, in Maraman, And another Malpan also, Kaidel Givaris Malpan, he also joined Abraham Malpan in this Reformation. In 1837, Abraham Malpan led church worship at Maraman according to the new liturgy. He has written a new liturgy in Malayalam. Eventually, the movement of Reformation by Abraham Malpan led to the formation of the Marthoma Church, the Malangara Marthoma Church. The Anglican missionaries strongly supported him, Actually, some of those missionaries continued to conduct classes, for believers in the Orthodox Church, and many people. In Kerala and South India, the Anglicans, the Presbyterians, the Methodists and the Congregationalists, they all joined together and formed a CSI, Church of South India, Of course, in North India, they made the CNI. It happened in 1947. At St. George Cathedral in Madras on September 27, 1947, the merger took place. So today, we don't have the Presbyterians and the Anglicans and the Methodists and the Congregationalists in South India, but we have the CSI Church. CSI Church is a major denomination in South India. CNI is in the North India. Yes. The Basel Mission, Basel Mission is basically from Germany. The Basel Mission merged with the CSI later. Dr. Gundert was a Basel missionary. He made great contributions to Malayalam. He translated the Bible to Malayalam. Also made a dictionary and a grammar book. In 1854, he published his New Testament at Talassery. In 1859, he published the whole Bible. Later, the Bailey's Bible and the Gundert Bible were edited and combined as one whole Bible and published in 1910 by the Bible Society, the Bible Society of India in Madras. The Madras Auxiliary published it. Today, of course, the Bangalore is the headquarters for the South Indian Auxiliary. The first Indian missionary of the Basel mission was one Reverend Yakub Ramavarma. Have you read about him? He was from the royal family of the Cochin royal family. He was the first, major convert. Reverend Yakub Ramavarma. He was from the royal family. He got converted. Not only he converted, he published his testimony, as a booklet. That is the first biography in Malayalam language. It is still available. It's still available. You can buy it. V. Nagel was a Basel missionary, came from Germany. You heard of Nagel? What do you know about him?
Some missionary activity.
Some missionary activity. Some of his songs are very famous. Samaya Radhatil. That is Bas Nagel's song. There are many songs like that, very popular songs. We sing at least when we take for the funeral. Yes. So he came in the north of Kerala, and then he left the Basel mission and he joined the Brethren. He came to Kundangulam. From Kundangulam, of course, he started an orphanage there. In Trichur, he started a girls' orphanage. And, Nagel contributed many Christian Malayalam songs and also some books he has written. So the Brethren work started very early, in India. The Baptist movement, of course, William Carey was the first Baptist missionary in India, we know. Today there are number of Baptist groups in India. Even in Kerala there are Independent Baptist, Southern Baptist, American Baptist, the Northern Baptist, the General Association of the Regular Baptists. There are so many Baptists. They said there may be at least 50 different Baptist denominations in America, in the world. Not all of them there, but many of them are in Kerala. Andhra and Northeast Baptists are in large number. Kerala has a fewer number in comparison because Baptist denominations did not prosper in Kerala. The Brethren and Pentecostals prospered. Therefore, Baptists in between, they didn't have much room. They didn't have that much to contribute, different from these people.
The extremes prosper. Brethren and Pentecostals.
Yeah, the Brethren and Pentecostals, both. The Brethren first came, then the Pentecostals. So, they didn't have much room. And interestingly, every Baptist is an ex-Brethren. They went to America to study Bible and they came back as a Baptist. That's a simple story. Every one of them. Yes, every single one. There are 16 different Baptist groups in India. That many, yes. But the Baptists are a major group. As I said, the Northeast Baptists are the major ones. The Lutheran Church also have roots in Kerala and South India. It was in 1706 that Lutheran missionaries reached India. They came from America, Germany, as well as from the Scandinavian countries. In 1975, the different Lutherans in India got together and formed the United Evangelical Lutheran Church of India. The United Evangelical Lutheran Church in India. Only 9 church groups they had. But now they have 15 church groups, not churches but church groups. Chennai is the headquarters. They have 15 lakh members, most of them in Tamil Nadu, especially in the Nagarjuna district. Lot of Lutheran churches are there. Yes. Also in Kerala they have in Malappuram and Trivandrum. Perurkada, Trivandrum, they have 70 churches. Malappuram is another Lutheran center. Presbyterians, it was in 1894 that the Presbyterians came to India. It was in the northeast. Reverend Thomas Johns and wife came to Meghalaya and worked among the Khasis. From here they spread to Assam, Mizoram, Manipur, Tripura, Arunachal Pradesh. In 1992 they formed the Presbyterian Church of India. They have a total of 2,568 local churches and 8,23,456 believers, as of the last census. So they are a sizable size, They also have 580 pastors. There are no Presbyterian church in Kerala. There's not a single one. Those few in other parts of South India, they merged with the CSI in 1947. So there are no separate, Presbyterian church. The Methodist, it was in 1856 that the Methodist movement came to India. American missionary William Taylor is the one who conducted revival meetings in different places. In 1870, 2 more lady missionaries joined him. Today there are many believers. The major works were done in Bangalore, Bareilly, Mumbai, Delhi and Hyderabad. They have 825 parishes, 702 pastors and 6,56,500 members. So the Methodists are a large group, they are a large group. Again, there are no Methodists in Kerala. Very interesting that not every denomination has taken their roots, because in Kerala, the Orthodox and the movement, that's the original, they were from the 3rd century at least, the Orthodox have taken the roots. And then through the Reformation, of course, the Marthomites came. Then the other groups came were the Brethren and the Pentecostals. They were purely the Reformation groups. And because of that one, the semi kind of, the Methodist and the Presbyterians were neither completely the ecclesiastical churches or completely the evangelical churches. They were in between. Such churches could not take root in Kerala very easily. Pentecostal church is part of the Reformation, yes, only because the Pentecostalism came only after even some of these Brethrenism came, The Reformation all came from the Roman Catholics. The Roman Catholics came, the Lutherans, the Presbyterians all came. The Assemblies of God and all that came from that only. From the Orthodox, the only Reformation came was the Marthoma. From the Marthoma, the Evangelical. Of course, in Kerala, the Brethren came from the Marthoma. The first Brethren meeting in Kerala was 4 Marthomites got saved. So that's a little bit different than the Brethren in other places. Like the Brethren in Andhra and other places were purely, from, anybody they preached. But here it was different. The Salvation Army, heard of Salvation Army? Yes, who started it? William Booth, yes. William Booth was originally a Methodist in England. He began the Salvation Army in 1865. Why is it called Salvation Army? For 2 reasons, they say. First, the aim of Booth was to save as many people as possible. So, Salvation Army. He wanted an army of saved people. The second reason he gave was to give military type discipline and care to members of the Salvation Army. The discipline and the care, the military care, take care of their soldiers. Same way he wanted every member of the Salvation Army to be taken care of, and systematic discipline. So everything, the organization was according to the military, and they have avoided Lord's Supper and baptism both. They don't have Lord's Supper and baptism because they felt that these 2 things keep people away from coming to Christianity, If there is no baptism, people get saved. Problem comes when you baptize people. And of course, Lord's Supper you don't want, because if there is no baptism, there cannot be the Lord's Supper. So he avoided both. And he organized the whole thing. Every believer is a member of the army. Yes. In the army style of organization, the top person is called the general. So William Booth is called General Booth. The work in India began in 1882, September 19th in Bombay. A man called Frederick George Tucker was the leader. In 1882, he went to England and joined Salvation Army. He was not Salvation Army man here. He went back and joined the Salvation Army, and then he came back. He changed his name to Fakir Singh. He wanted an Indian name, Fakir Singh. He returned and started the work. Today there are 6 divisions of the army: Calcutta, Madras, Mumbai, Trivandrum, Delhi and Tirunelveli. They are the headquarters of these divisions. It was in 1892, work started in Kerala. Kerala has 11 divisions with 500 local units. There are about 1 lakh members. Salvation Army's work is in 107 nations in the world. So it spread, really spread. In India, there are total 2,92,315 army members and 3,223 army officers. There was a time these people were doing a lot of evangelism. Salvation Army people does not do any more evangelism today. Now it became a social organization. They still run many hospitals, many schools and charitable work. During the Christmas time, they will ring the bell and collect money. Especially in America and all, you can see that every corner of the street there will be a ringing of the bell in the December. They collect as much money from people to help the poor. That's there, I have not seen Salvation Army people doing any evangelism at all. Actually, they come different Christian homes to collect money. They will say, we have a project helping the leprosy people, so we want to collect 50 lakhs, so do a contribution. They use that money for a social work. They are doing good social work. So, as a social work group, they are excellent today. I have nothing against them. But as far as the gospel is concerned, they don't do. There was a time they will do the gospel, evangelism very well. When Salvation Army people stand in the whole uniform, the band, and they have like the military, the band, they will sing very beautifully with all the instruments. The bugles and the drums and the violin, everything they sing, and I still can remember in my childhood, they will be conducting open air meetings and they preach the good gospel. They don't do it anymore. Of course, it may be difficult to do today, I don't know, but they stopped it. So that aspect of the work, as days go by, lot of Christian groups, they stop evangelism. Evangelism is very difficult. Nowadays, it's very difficult to do in India. With every religious groups become so militant, radicals, yes. The CNI, the Church of North India, British Baptist, Mennonites, the Disciples of Christ, the Methodist United Church of North India, Church of India, the Anglican, these 6 denominations united to form Church of North India in 1970. On November 28, they met at Nagpur and formed CNI. Today CNI is a very major denomination in the North India, just like CSI in the South India. CNI, they are everywhere. There are 26 divisions, or what you call Bhadrasanams, 1,500 churches, 1,000 pastors, 12 lakhs 50,000 believers in North India. The head of the church will always be a bishop chosen as the moderator. Headquarters is New Delhi. There is also a CNI Trust Association to handle all their property matters, their buildings and all. Well, there are some good CNI pastors. I have met some good ones when I was in Madhya Pradesh. They were good godly men, But I have also met some who are not even born again. They don't believe in Bible or anything. They just, The CSI and the CNI are very rich because when the Britishers were here, for the British officers, like the railways were completely managed by their people. So every railway junction they will have a major, mission quarters and a large church and sometimes hundreds of acres of land. So all that property became the property of the CSI and the CNI. So they are very rich. They are very rich. Unlike the new denominations that have come up, who does not have church buildings and cemeteries and all that, these people have a lot of properties that way. And the sad thing is, many of them, not all of them, I will say, many of them are not preaching the gospel anymore. I know many CNI members when I was there, and some were saved, but some were not. They will go for Easter and Christmas Day, they will go to church, They will dress up nicely and go. That's it. Yes. The Canaanite Christians. There were 3 migrations from Syria in the 3rd and 4th centuries. One, Canaanite Thoman came to Kerala in AD 345 with 400 Christians to Kodungalur. It is said that Canaanite Thoman was a businessman, and along with him came 2 bishops and 2 priests and few deacons. The word Canaana actually in the Syrian language means businessman. So Canaanite Thoman means, businessman Thomas. That's what it means. But however, something that, the word does not mean that, but it means Cana, where Jesus has performed the miracles, therefore he may have come from that place originally, It is not supported by any history anyway. Yes. When they came to Kodungalur and these people, the ruler of that time of the Kodungalur was a man called Cheraman Perumal. He was very gracious to Canaanite Thoman and other people. He gave them a big area of land for settle down, free. You settle down. And also gave them permission to do business, In the 9th century, the Mahadevar area where they were living were attacked by other kings. And so these Canaanite people scattered to different places of Kerala, especially they migrated to the south. Rani, Kallisheri, Kottayam, and some of these places where they migrated. So today, Canaanite people are seen more in the southern part of Kerala, the mid Kerala, than in Kodungalur areas. There are very few there. After the Kunankur Satyagraha, we mentioned earlier, the Canaanites were divided into 2. One group accepted Pope as the head. The other went with the Jacobites. So, those who supported the Pope, of course, they are Roman Catholics. So there is a Canaanite Roman Catholic section. In 1911, Pope Pius, he established Kottayam as a diocese for those Canaanite people, who were converted to Roman Catholicism, and they have adopted the Syro-Malabar wreath. You know what a wreath is? Wreath means system of liturgy. They are different. The Latin wreath means all worship is in Latin language. They follow what the Rome follows. Then the Syrian wreath. So there the worship will be in Syrian language, and so now they have a Syro-Malabar wreath where the Malayalam is a language, and they have changed that one. So a wreath simply means, a liturgical system, a liturgical system. The Diocese of Kottayam, there are 131,366 members in the Catholic wing. So it's pretty large. In 1910, the Patriarch of Antioch gave permission to form a Knanaya Jacobite diocese. Their headquarters is where? In Chingavanam, Kottayam district itself. They are with the Antiochian Jacobite, people. I don't know what their population, nobody gave me the number. I think the Orthodox wing is bigger than the Catholic, or which wing is bigger? I know the Rami, it's basically Orthodox. And I don't know which one is bigger. You don't know. Nobody is a Canaanite here.
Me.
You are. You don't know then. Which one is bigger? Catholic. So your parents are okay. You have anybody in your family who married a non-Canaanite?
Yeah.
You have. Are they still considered? No, they are not. So what do you do with them? Can they come home and all?
Yeah,
They
they can.
can.
My grandma's brother's wife is a Knanaya Jacobite,
Uh-huh.
the auntie, and now she is considered as a Roman Catholic.
Oh.
I mean, Knanaya Roman Catholic.
Uh-huh. She was a Jacobite, but not married from any other non-Canaanite. No, yeah, I know they don't permit. I mean, some do now, but at a great cost. Yeah, yes. Yeah, in Kerala, I think the Knanaya community maintain their distinctions even now. They have many things that are unique. Their weddings and all, don't they have? Like cutting the hair and bathing the boy, and there are many. I have some Knanaya friends. Ask them. They're different systems. They're different. I never attended a Knanaya wedding because I'm not a Knanaya, so I would never get an invitation. Yes.
They don't invite
Well, they may invite. I don't know. In office and all people work, so they may invite, but I never had an invitation. The few Canaanite I knew, they all left the Orthodox and the Catholics. They are with us, and they have invited for their children's wedding, but it was never a typical wedding. So I never could. There were some cultures that were different. I know that. Yeah.
India is circulating.
Eh?
An old video for Knanaya wedding is circulating in Kerala.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, I would like to see it.
It's very old.
Very old one. Oh, that would be great. I always love to watch the cultural, every culture has something unique to contribute, I believe. Culture means a group of people do things in a unique way which not others are doing. So they are identified as a culture. So how these cultures originated will be very interesting. I have to find out. We mentioned about the Malangara Marthoma Church. Wanted to say a little more. We said that Abraham Malpan and Georgius Malpan were influenced by Anglican missionaries, against many false beliefs of the Orthodox Church. It is Abraham Malpan who began the work of Reformation. He opposed the prayer for the dead. He worship of Mary, Chatham. You know what Chatham is? For the dead people, they do certain things. After certain days, there is like Hindus have Adiyantiram. They have after certain days. So the Jacobites and the Catholics both have certain days. They have Adiyantiram. And of course the Orthodox people won't get into the room of the dead one for 40 days. The bed will be, they will put the bed on which the man was or the woman was, sleeping regularly. A white sheet will be put on it, and there will be candles burning there, and the Bible will be kept there, but nobody will go and disturb that.